What we're talking about today, will there be a recording? Yes, Jody, I'm coming to that in a couple of slides, but thanks for spoiling my slides. Yes. Spoiling, not spoilering, spoiling, I guess. We are talking today about handling responsiveness through multiple components. No worries. I'm just joking. So if you already worked, and I assume you already did with Figma files, you probably know that organizing stuff on a Figma file, it's fun until it's not. So today I'm here with Eugenia, which can greet everyone, charming everyone. Thank you very much.
Hello. I'm Eugenia, product designer at Belka.
So contenta di fare sta sfilata. And I'm here with my usual role of not understanding stuff and asking very simple questions. So you don't have to, but feel free to ask any question anytime from the comments, and we will try to reply to comments, or below on the toolbar of Zoom, you can find the Q&A toolbar where you can ask questions and we can reply later on. I don't see the button actually. Oh yeah, now I see it. So if anyone could try to put a question on the Q&A thing, here is this thingy. So I can see that people are able to use it, not because I'm doubting that you can, but because it's quite hidden. And just to check that the Q&A button is working. If you have trouble, please feel free to ask, how was your day? Thanks for asking, Jody. I thought you never asked. It was very, very good. I just had lunch in Trento downtown. So, all right, this is working very good. So the agenda is the following one. We're going to structure a component. So how is the component made? We will show the foundation theme repository. You should be able to talk about this, Eugenia. I'm totally destroying your agenda. I'm sorry. Go on.
It's fine. Go.
Oh, right. Okay. And I mean, the most important part is that we're going to make the component and see how the component is made. And you can follow every part of the how to make a component live. So if you want to open Figma in the meantime, or just follow your pick, we will try to get slow. But at the end, we will reply also the Q&A questions, and the recording will be distributed via our newsletter. So if you didn't already subscribe to our newsletter during the webinar subscription form, feel free to do it now. So you will receive our recording. And thank you, Serena, which is sharing the link in the chat as well. So if you want to click it there instead of writing, because writing, it's very, very hard. Feel free to. Moreover, at the end of the webinar, if you feel that the webinar was useful and if you're a friend of yours should be able to benefit from a webinar, feel free to share it with your friends. Sharing is caring. So before starting, a quick word from our sponsor, Belka. Companies with a design system grow faster. We know that for a fact. We saw it in a lot of different products, a lot of different projects, a lot of different companies. Also, there is quite a lot of literature right now, so I won't try to convince you about design systems. If you are not into that, I'm sorry for you. It's just the way interfaces in modern products are made. We saw great increase in efficiency in the production of the interfaces, in learning faster because the products grow faster. We applied it with a bunch of different companies, a bunch of different products. For example, Spiagge.it. If this is not your first webinar, I am very sorry. This is probably the third or fourth time you hear it. It's like Airbnb for the places under the sun, the beaches in Italy. You can rent a sdraio. I have no idea how to say this in English. Well, a place.
Something.
Yes, the sun something. A place in Italy. Can you be more Italian than this product? I don't think so. On the background, you see all the design system that we did for them. Also, we work with the biggest software as a service in Italy, Factoring Cloud, 500,000 monthly active users. And they also highly benefited from the fact that we did the whole app with a really solid design system. Indigo.ai as well, which is this marvelous company working with AI that makes easy to talk with companies if you are just a normal person who wants to get some information from them, because thanks to the AI is super well crafted as a reply, and they go way quicker on the answers. And lastly, Nen, which will be, I think, a little bit covered in the current webinar. They are the most innovative utility company in Italy. Deck chair. If anyone English speaking can tell me if deck chair is a place where you stay like in Sicily under the sun, that would be very interesting to know. With Nan, we did the whole migration from Sketch to Figma, which was quite impressive. But since we are just too good for this world, we also migrated the entire flows, the user flows of the product to the new tool. And they're quite happy about that. So enough with the chit chat. We're starting with cats. GIFs and stuff, and we're actually moving to Figma. We're not talking about cats. I'm leaving the stage to Eugenia, and yeah, welcome to our webinar. Let's start.
Hello. Okay, now is the moment in which I screw everything up. Okay, sharing screen is my nightmare. Do you see me? I think so.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So
I see you're
thank you
keeping
for the
expectations low. Yeah.
yeah.
Look at you.
It's my signature to keep
Stakeholder
expectations
management
low.
101.
Exactly. Anyway, so hello, thank you, Giulio, for the introduction. As already mentioned, today is how to create and set up responsive components using variables. Yeah, I know how cool variables are, and like the world's gone crazy because of variables. Right after Figma release this update, and it's not a secret. Belka is also a huge fan of variables. We think that using variables wisely can speed up your process at Lightfast, which is especially funny since the first project we worked on with variables was Nen, which is one of the clients that Giulio just mentioned, and is a utility provider based in Italy. For them, we did their design, we redesigned their design system that, by the way, has this really funny name. How would you translate coso in English, Giulio?
Thingy, like a thing.
A thing.
Yeah, like a. Yeah, my mother was very confused by my job. Once more, like,
Once
I'm
more.
I'm doing a thingy.
A thingy. That's it.
Yeah.
So anyway, we redesigned their design system on Figma, and we also moved all their flows from Sketch to Figma. And it was like a really, really long job. One of the requirements with Nen was that they wanted to see all their screens decline for various screen resolution. Like in this example, you see the same screen decline for desktop breakpoints, tablet breakpoints, and mobile breakpoints. So one solution before the variables update used to be create all the components of your design system, and then for each component create also a variant for each breakpoint. So in this example, you are seeing the header of the Nen website decline for with a variant for the desktop, a variant for the tablet, and a variant for the mobile screen. But as you may guess, like achieving responsiveness while at the same time maintain consistency for a shitload of components and shitloads of screen. Can I say shitloads? Anyway, a shitloads
If anyone
of
is offended on
flows.
the chat, please let us know, because otherwise we are, it's Friday.
Sometimes it
We're
happens.
tired of being kind all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So shitloads welcome. Anyway, so when you have these massive amount of files, creating variants for each component can be very overwhelming. But after we studied the structure of NAND files and the structure of the design system, we were able to create a variable system that not only allows us to have less components to maintain, but also speed up the process of creating new screen, because applying variables wisely across the system makes us able to change the resolution of the screen in a matter of a click. So we just had to create the desktop version, and then applying variables, we were able to switch between breakpoints.
So let me rephrase this, Eugenia. Instead of having
yeah.
like 3 different components, we
Yeah.
have just one component
Exactly.
with all the like resolutions and stuff that can change according to the variables, resulting in just one component that we can use throughout all the different solutions.
Is that correctly?
That's
Thank
pretty
you
cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And like considering that we had like a very huge amount of files, we were able to cut the time to create new screens with this method, which was very cool. So
is anyone in the chat already doing things in this way? I'm curious to know. Yeah, look at you, Giancarlo.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's very good to know.
Very good also, Ludovica. Component with superpowers, they call them. Yeah. Also, Eugenia has superpowers. I mean, she's doing components are just doing their thing, existing.
Yeah.
Simone
I can
wants
also
to
fly.
try. You can what?
I can also fly. This is my other superpower.
You can?
Yeah, I can.
Let's go back to the webinar right now.
Yeah, maybe it's better. Anyway, so
you're making fun of me.
So to wrap up, this was the introduction. The aim of this webinar is very practical. So I'm basically explaining you how to set some variables to make this card according to different breakpoints automatically. So I think that we are more or less set. Shall I go for the explanation on how to do it?
No, can you please paste another time the component? It's very nice to see. It's so
satisfying, isn't
right?
it? Like
also with the auto layout is just popping there.
Book.
It's very nice.
Okay, so well, let's
Good
stop
job,
with
components.
this. I think we can go. We can go.
Left. How do you do that? What's the magic behind it?
The magic behind it. Okay, so we can like simplify the whole process in 3 steps. The first and basic one is to decide the breakpoints of your whole design system. This is something that you cannot set for, that you cannot change every component you make. So you may think like a breakpoint as one of the most important part of every design system, and this is why breakpoints are normally part of are normally part of the foundation of our design system. So in our example, we are using a desktop, a normal desktop, a tablet, and a medium-sized mobile phone. But when you are speaking about breakpoints, Normally, you also want to have in mind an ultra-wide screen and also a really small phone in order to check how it works on different breakpoints. But today, just for keep things simple, we are sticking to these little three guys. So now that you have your breakpoints, the first thing you need to do is to set your variables for these breakpoints. To do so, let's delve into the practice of this webinar. To do so, you have to create a new collection and add two different number variables, one for the screen width and one for the screen height. Now that you have your two first numeric variables, you need to create three different modes, one for each breakpoint. So what are modes? Modes are basically the element inside Figma that made the magic happen, so that allows us to switch between different modes. They actually can be whatever you like. In our case, we want them to be desktop, tablet, and mobile. One very important thing to keep in mind is that by default, Figma will apply the first column as default values. So in our case, for our example, we want to design all our system based on desktop resolution. But maybe if you're working on a mobile first product, maybe you want to do the other way around. So having mobile as the first column and design all your components for mobile and then decline them for desktop. But today, just stick with this example and have desktop as our default values. Now, the only thing you need to do is to follow this, to fill this table. To do this, in this case, we are working with screen width and screen height. So we just copy and paste all these values. There are the screen width and the screen height. So right now I already done my homework, so I'm not gonna copy and paste all the values here because I already have a collection already made. But when you will follow along on the freebie that you can download, you just have to fill the table.
Wait.
Oops.
Is there a freebie?
Yeah, is there a freebie?
Oh,
But
I totally forget to mention it, I guess.
Oh yeah, probably you forgot. Okay, anyway, there
We
will
should
be a
stop
freebie.
giving me operative roles. Like I should just watch webinars the whole day and just ask questions. I think this is my call. Yeah. So for all the people around right now, we will send you a Figma file of what we're sharing so you can try by yourself. So we're both sharing the recording and a Figma file. I think we should how is this free? Like who's the
Who
CEO of this
decided
company?
it?
Yeah, no, I should. Yeah.
That was the decision from
Yeah, no,
marketing.
we're just too kind. So I think there is a very clever question. Sorry to interrupt your flow, Gigi.
No problem.
But I think this is a very interesting question I was asking to myself as well. Francesca is asking, why are you setting breakpoints for the whole design system instead of setting different ones on the components? Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's
Thank you, Francesca.
Thank you, Francesca, for the question. It's really it's a really good one. The reason why you want to have breakpoints for the whole system is because when you want to change the modes, so that in our case breakpoints, you want to. Okay, I need to rephrase the answer in my mind. So, okay, today we are working on just one component. So it's pretty easy. We can also just set the variables for this component and that's it. But normally in a design system, you will work with different components. So if you want to achieve this kind of responsiveness, so you want to achieve the responsiveness of the menu, the page, the card element, you need to have the breakpoints set in order to act on every different components. I don't know if I explained myself correctly. Let me know.
People in the chat help us, like or especially Francesca. Yes, but
yes, but not 100% sure. Yeah.
Another question.
Go.
So we'll try to reply to that. Otherwise, we put it just in the backlog after the explanation. But yeah, Francesca, you are keeping everyone very, very tight on your other question cliffhanger. Can't they achieve the same result with the help of the devs? Yeah, no, we don't want to pressure you. Sorry.
No problem, no problem. Okay. It depends. Like if you want to, it depends on the tool that you are using. So if you want to have this kind of results on Figma, this is something that you can achieve. This kind of results is something that you can achieve only if you're using variables inside of Figma. Of course, working with dev is something really important. Actually, I forgot to mention, but breakpoints shall be set according to what developers define as breakpoints. So on the final product, so on the online product, of course, it will be the goal of developers to achieve responsiveness. But when we speak about Figma, it's we need to use variables to achieve this kind of responsiveness.
Yeah, a couple of things that I think are key. I'm not sure we mentioned them, but Giancarlo is saying maybe mention that the parent frame variable mode applied to the nested object. This is very important because once you have like global variables, then the nested object, so the object inside the other object applies, which it's what we saw before when we were pasting stuff instead.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, maybe if I go with my flow, I can explain this
sorry,
thing.
Eugenia. Oh,
no problem.
And
okay.
sorry, just for another thing, Francesca is saying, well, when we work with developers and we sit next to them, things get magical. We really agree, especially with Eugenia. You can find a very interesting article about handoff on our website. If Serena could help us and pasting it on the chat, because I believe that's probably the trickiest part. I mean, we can work on Figma all day, but at the end of the day, we need to make friends with the developers. So I totally agree with you. But let's go with the flow. Sorry, Jennifer, for interrupting. I think I probably made more chaos than being helpful.
No problem.
Yeah,
no problem. I think that with the rest of the explanation, things will get a little bit more clear. Okay. So
yeah, I agree.
Now we were saying we have created our variable set for our breakpoints. So let's go on a fake screen and apply these variables. So this will be like kind of like of our mobile, our desktop screen. So we want to apply the variables for the screen width. And also we want to apply the screen height variables on the frame panel. As you see now that I applied these two variables, if I go on the layer panel, I can switch between the three resolution I have. So a tablet's resolution and a mobile one. So this is the first part of the magic. So right now we have a frame that acts as like that act as our devices. Now that we have our breakpoints, we go back to our components. So normally when you are setting variables, you want to select a bunch of components that are part of the same category. Like in our case, the category is like card. And you want to spot all the different elements in each component that are part of, that are shared between several components. So in our case, we have our card, the card that we are working on, and another card that is a simple card with an image. In this example, we have the padding of our card that is the same, the font size, and also the spacing between title and subtitle. So right now, as you may guess, the second thing you need to do is to set the variables for these common elements. To do this, you go back to the same collection you have already created, and you create three others numeric variables. One for the font size, one for the title spacing, so the space between title and subtitle, and one for the card padding. As you see, the values in the table are the same that we already reviewed in our audit. So in the moment in which we are reviewing the common elements of our components. So as I mentioned, I've already done my homework, so I go back to my component and apply these three variables I've just created. So we were saying we have the padding variables that we want to apply. So we go on the out layout panel and set our padding both on the horizontal and vertical setting. Then the other thing we have is the spacing between title and subtitle. So again, on the auto layout, we select spacing, title spacing variables. And the third element is the size of our title. To do that, we select our title, and on the font size, we add the font size variables. Now, as you see, if you copy and paste this instance and try to test how it works, you see that if you change between a tablet and mobile, the three elements that we just applied change accordingly. But if we copy and paste the same element inside our mockup screen, we see that right now it's not working as we like, because we don't have the variables for the width of our screen. So as one of our guests mentioned before, basically the component inside of our screen will act accordingly to the main container of our screen. So in our case is our mockup screen that is set for responsive mobile. To do this, we have to select to create some other variables that are specific for this card component. In this case, the elements that are specific for these components are the width of the component itself, which in this case is fixed, and the visibility of this icon, this little icon here.
The hand.
The hand, yeah, exactly. So as you see, this little icon here is shown on the header for the desktop and tablet screens, while is hidden on the mobile in the mobile version and is shown in the content part of our component. So as you may guess, we are going to create some other variables. But while the width variable is still a numeric one, the visibility of this icon is managed by another type of variables that is called boolean variables. To do so, we go back to our collection and create two boolean variables. To do so, you just click on create variables and click boolean. And by default, our boolean variables will have all the options toggled off. But then you can analyze your component. And in our case, we want the icon on the header to be shown on desktop and tablet. So true and true. And hidden on mobile. About the icon content, so this little icon on the content, we want it to be shown only on mobile screen resolution and be hidden on desktop and tablet resolution. So now that we have all our variables, let's go back to our component and set the last three little variables here. So let's start with the simplest one and just select the whole component and set the width component. As you see now, because our component is inside this mockup screen that is set to mobile, by default, automatically, not by default, the width of the component size accordingly to the breakpoint. But right now, yeah, amazing. But right now, our component is not acting as we want, because as you see, this little icon here shouldn't be visible in this resolution. So what we want to do is to select the icon on the header and apply the boolean icon, the boolean variables on the layer panel, click on the eye icon and apply the icon header boolean. Now, because you applied this variable, as you see on the mobile resolution, the icon is hidden. But if you change back to desktop resolution, the icon on the header is shown, but is shown also the icon on the content, which is something that we don't want to. So we go back to our
really
component.
want too many things, Eugenia. I think we're just making stuff that is too complex nowadays. We should go back to simple cars like in the good old times.
Yeah, simple cars.
No hands, no hands whatsoever. Yeah,
exactly. Anyway,
make it disappear.
I make it disappear by simply select this little icon here, go back again on the layer panel, and on the visibility panel, set the variables icon content, because this will set the visibility for this icon specifically. And doing this...
it worked.
Yeah, exactly. It worked not only on our mock screen, but also on the main component, because as I said before...
Right, the default is the first one.
Exactly.
I got you. So I think there is a very good question. Yeah, no, a lot. I just don't act. So Thomas is asking, in order to follow this approach, we need to set specific variables for every single component. Yes.
Well, it depends.
Really?
Actually, it depends. It depends. You can, as I said, in our case, we actually have 3 different set of components. Sorry. Like we have 3 different set of variables. So we have the breakpoints that are more or less like the main variables for all the system. Then we have the variables that are common for all the cards, like all the cards have a shared element. So we have the variables for all the cards. And then if we have some details of our design that work, some details of our components that work differently from the common one, yes, we have to create some variables for specific for the components.
Okay. Yeah, those are basically 3 groups. So it's one is global, one is local, and one is just for the very single one. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Like normally.
Thanks for asking,
Thanks for
Thomas.
the question. Yeah. So
yeah,
to sum
Alberto
up,
also is helping us. We should invite Alberto sometimes. It's very knowledgeable. Yeah. Good job, Alberto.
Good job.
Yeah, not joking. He knows stuff.
So to sum up, today we just saw a really practical example. In the next week, you will be able to download this freebie and follow along with the webinar and try to apply this knowledge on this example yourself. So thank you so much.
All right. Yeah, this is it. So before going to the other questions, a couple of things. I'm stealing the screen sharing, Eugenia, sorry.
Yeah, please.
No, thank you. So a couple of things. Obviously, I completely broke my Zoom instance. So a couple of things before going to the Q&A part of the webinar. So we saw a lot of stuff about Figma files. We also work on front-end development as Belka. So we are on the whole interface thing. If you feel that your design system might need some help from external people, because maybe your people are too much into your design system, or you just have other things to do, you can check the design system audit service that we have on our website. If you have these kind of issues, like trouble getting started, questions about governance, like what is the roadmap of our design system? If the answer is, do we need a roadmap? Yeah, that might be a good sign that you might want to talk with us. You're unsure about what tools to use. The answer is Figma for design and React for development, but
you might be biased.
Yes. But even on those single tools, you have a lot of choices, right? So if you have adoption issues or you're wondering how to measure success, we did a bunch of time with very cool companies. You might be the next cool company we help with this, and you can find information about this both on the chat and on our website. So as I stated before, if you want to have the slides and the video recording and the freebie, which nobody was aware of, that's incredible. Not even me, even if Serena told me probably 5 times, you can just subscribe to the newsletter where you will get the deck of slides, the recording, and the exercise of Eugenia. Let us know if you managed to complete the exercise or not. Very interesting to know. And we share a lot of stuff about design systems. We have a lot of different articles and stuff that you can find on our newsletter. This is now a good time to subscribe, by the way, if you didn't yet, or to share it with someone else of your team, because not everybody is like Alberto, who knows stuff. Like me, I don't know stuff. So some other people that you know or people in your team might not know stuff, and you might be the very good friend who shares stuff with them. Are you sending the freebies along with the newsletter? So yeah, we do.
Yeah.
It's yes in capital letters. Wow, that's a very strong yes, Serena. Look at you. You became so proud of the freebies. Yeah, all right. So enough with the chit chat. So I hope you already shared things on LinkedIn, like how beautiful are Eugenia, which we also discovered that is a DJ, and Giulio, which is not a designer, or your friends on the newsletter and stuff. We already have another webinar in queue that you can check it out, but I think that we will go with the questions and answers right now. We'll probably need Figma. I believe it's just more easy to use it. Thanks for everyone telling us that it was a very good webinar. It's very flattering. Thank you very much. I mean, it's 99% Eugenia's responsibility. I just tried to bring as much chaos as I could. As always,
we love you for this.
Yeah,
for your lovely chaos.
Yeah. So if you have any other question, there is the Q&A thing, and let's start with John. I hope I'm not saying your name.
I would
Jan,
say,
yeah. Me too. So she or he, I don't know. Jan is asking, I don't want to interrupt the flow of the webinar. Thank you. I did. So please feel free to answer anytime or never. That was very drastic of you. Eugenia, I think this is for you. What are some key takeaways when adopting variables, moving from styles, if the current styles mapping is not perfect and basically requires a complete refactoring of the components?
Well, this is a tough one. I think that there is no, like always, unfortunately, there is no one solution that fills all the cases. But yeah, I think that happens quite a lot when Figma releases some very massive updates like variables that actually a refactoring is the only option you have. Like it was for for the example that you are making, like moving from styles to variables. We had to refactor our libraries. It's not something that you can really avoid. There are some useful plugins to move styles to variables, but they don't like solve all the problems that you can encounter. And actually, there aren't. I'm afraid to say, but there aren't very like there isn't a trick that can solve all the problems that comes with switching from styles to variables. I'm afraid I don't have an answer for this.
And Jan also have another question.
Yeah.
Using variables in components, from the designer's point of view, it's great. But how are you solving dev and over? I've noticed that a byproduct of using variables is the fact that a lot of states/variants are essentially hidden, and it's not easy for devs to see them all. Huh.
This is a really good one. Again, thank you, Jan.
I have a question. Is anyone in the chat? Yeah, developer. Do we have any developer today? We promise we will be kind. Nobody's insulting you. This is a safe place.
This is a safe place. You can speak with us.
Yeah, no judgment if you decided to be a developer. I'm not a designer either.
I can code.
Yeah, look at you, Luica.
This good.
Yeah, probably we don't have developers. That's really sad. Yeah, I hope that at least one may be curious of know the other half of the moon. Yeah. All right. So
anyway, going back to the question. So I agree with you. Variables can be overwhelming for dev. One solution we had was to document really deeply each component we created using variables. So of course, if you limit the documentation to the only master component you are working on. From the dev perspective, might be confusing, but a good thing is to document each responsive mode of each component. So in this way, you still have just one component, one master component, but you can have the documentation for each screen resolution that will change automatically. So you don't have to update every instance, but you can have like a more easy way to document each breakpoints, if that makes any sense. Let me know, Jan, if I answer correctly.
I mean, or if you have more questions.
Or if you have more questions. Okay. So I think that maybe we can move. Okay.
So it's all good. That's also what we are doing. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, we're good to go then.
There is no other option, I think, at least from our perspective right now, from our experience, there is no other option than documenting very well all the different modes. That's
I mean,
it.
and also, but it's already in Eugenia's article as well, trying to
communicate a lot with devs.
Yeah, talk to the people and doing handoffs, also showing the work, because that's where you can ask questions and have focused time of the whole team to see things together. I think the documentation as it's like a logarithmic function, so it has very good returns on the simpler things, but the more you document, the less effect at some point you have. It's like, diminishing returns. It's in English. It has diminishing returns. After a while, it becomes just weaker to talk to people. Like the big chunk of documentation, like the very needed one, it's on Figma itself. Then you can do a little bit of a more specific step, but you can't avoid communicate to people altogether. At some point, I think that just having a recurring chat about the development of the product, I think is probably the last thing that you want to add to your process. It's always a mix of people and tools. Yeah. Before going to the next questions, we have a couple of things that we would like to know before you go back to your Friday. First question is this time in the week a good time for you? I mean, if you're now, I believe it's yes, but do you prefer any other day? Because we don't have many times, many ways to ask you questions, like the forms that, no, they say Friday is great. Friday is great. People love Friday. I also really appreciate Friday, like as a day. That's fine. Yeah. Okay, cool. And another thing that we're curious about, is there any burning question that you have? Maybe later they're asking. Yeah, okay. Do you have any other burning question that you would like to see on the next webinars? Question for everybody. What are you struggling with your design system or Figma organization or whatever interface work you're doing nowadays? What are the parts that are the hardest for you that you would like to know how we do it or how our customer do it with us? Micro interactions. Thank you, Jody. File structure.
File structure. Well, this is a really interesting one.
Teach other people how to use Figma properly. Ludovica, you already have the answer for this. Share the webinar. Like we will have the webinar released on YouTube, so feel free to share it with your friends. That might help. It's not the solution, but that might help. Struggling with refactoring variables, for example, moving variables from one connection to another. Multi-brand, that's a good one. Setting up
Nice.
review processes to achieve design on development fidelity. Linking the Figma components to Storybook through plugins. That's very nerdy. I love it.
I think this is more of a question, and it really depends on our clients. So about the linking between Figma and Storybook, but right now, actually, for some project, we are using just the basic documentation plugin from Storybook, so nothing really special. But I think that we have some other question from the Q&A.
Yeah, one thing before the very last question, I'm sorry to interrupt again, but this is
No, no
a
problem.
request. So we put a lot of effort into preparing the webinars, and the next one is for the development team. So the how to create composable components, not to make anyone sad, but it would probably be 99% developer oriented. So if you could forward this to your colleagues slash friends slash also your enemies, but that you want to empower, not the enemies that you want to defeat. If you would like to, if you could share the how to create composable components webinar to them, that would be great. So you're paying us with gratitude and kindness, with more kindness and gratitude in the world, and this will make the world hopefully a little bit of a better place. So yeah, and this was the segue for, I think, the last question.
Yeah, I was looking for the. Okay, there are some interesting ones. So just to answer really shortly to Ludovica, yeah, I think it's that 360 pixel for width instead of 375 pixel would be better, but this is just really an example. So don't stick too much on on the resolution we set. So it's up to your product to decide which kind of mobile resolution to use. Giancarlo is asking us, instead of defining width and height values for components, have you tested variables to drive components variance? Means showing which instant variant is used best based on a string variable. Well, this is a really nerdy question, and I think that the use of string variables is something that cannot be explained just in this question, but it's something that we use quite often, actually. But maybe we can note it down as an topic for maybe a next webinar. But yes, we use it a lot to change the component using string variables.
Good catch. So we have a couple of things. The first one is, what's your advice if we have a multi-brand design system? I think this will be one of the next webinars. This is a very deep question. We have a lot of advice, but we can't fit it in the next seconds.
Yeah, but actually, I have a little example about this. I can share my screen just right now. Okay, so like the other uses of variables that you can do is, of course, one of the most common is if you're designing a headless design system, or if you have a multi-brand product. Of course, it's using variables for branding. And in this example, you see how to, that is possible using modes, so variables, to create different brands. So like in this example, we have brand 1 and brand 2, which is more like purple. Some other use that you can do is to switch between dark and light theme. And Another really specific and complex use of variables is also using strings to provide different variants, different version of the same components through different languages. Like, for example, if you want to see this card translated to Japanese, you can use string variables also to manipulate this kind of data. But all these extra trick might go directly on a new webinar, on our next webinar.
We are going broke. You are spilling all our secrets.
I'm sorry.
I have no idea on how we will keep back in business for the next days. Now all the 30 attendees now know stuff. So thanks everyone for participating on our today's webinar. It was very fun. Thanks for all the questions. It's always very nice to see this much of participation. The recording will be shared, as I said, probably 100 times. If you want to share the webinar on how to build a composable component with React, this is the link. If you could send it right now to your development team and friends, that would be great. It's a lot of work that we're putting to share how we work and teach people on how to adopt design system, because we think they're very cool and it's a great way to make digital products. And yeah, thanks everyone. It was very fun. Good job, Giulio. It was great.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy. Thank you so much for this huge participation.
Yeah, and good job, Serena, for being always present, but even not visible. Serena has been sharing links and checking if stuff was done properly. Yeah, see you on the next